What's up, game slingers? Of all the gaming accessories in existence, the NES Zapper must be one of the most iconic. But even though it's famous, most gamers haven't used it on anything else but Duck Hunt. Not that there's anything wrong with Duck Hunt, but come on, how many ducks can you shoot? There must be other good games that use the Zapper, right? So, are you ready for some rootin' tootin' Zapper shootin'? Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell. Here's 10 NES Zapper games that are not Duck Hunt. Barker Bill's Trick Shooting isn't Duck Hunt, but still a little. This game offers 4 shooting galleries for the player to beat. You'll be welcomed by Barker Bill himself and his brave and lovely assistant Trixie. Barker Bill isn't too much of a trigger man himself though. Look who we have here! The dog from Duck Hunt appears in the first shooting gallery called Balloon Saloon. He's once again used by the designers to distract you while you try to do some essential shooting. Not really a safe place to stand, doggo. And what happens when he gets shot in the face? He gets a bit annoyed. Trixie also puts a lot on the line, by the way, by letting you shoot coins from her hands. But you're one of the best, aren't you? The names of the shooting galleries have pretty funny names. The aforementioned Balloon Saloon, but also Flying Saucers, Fun Follies and Window Panes. On that last one, they really went puns blazing. Gumshoe doesn't waste a second. Right after the title screen, you're presented with a ransom note. You are Mr. Stevenson, your daughter has been abducted. And apparently you know where to find 5 Black Panther diamonds within 24 hours? Or else. This is a game with a strange control scheme. You control Mr. Stevenson solely by using the NES Zapper, by shooting him. He moves to the right automatically and every time he's hit, he jumps. Shooting Mr. Stevenson to make him jump will not cost you any ammo. Shooting approaching enemies, however, will. We're not sure if this game's control style made any sense, but we're not touching that discussion with a 10-foot pole. We don't want to get involved in the gun controls debate. In Freedom Force, you get the chance to be part of an elite counter-terrorism organization. The names of its team members are, and we so hope these are codenames, Red Rex and Manic Jackson. Even if they're just codenames, we think Mr. Jackson should take a vacation till he's not manic anymore. Red Rex looks suspiciously like actor Rutger Hauer on the box art, by the way. The gameplay consists of shooting enemies in side-scrolling levels that depict an airport with planes that have an insane amount of doors and an embassy taken over by ninjas. You shoot the terrorists, save the hostages. Pretty basic. There's only 3 kinds of enemies in this game. There's the bagman who look like Batman after he hit a rough patch in life. There's the elite assassin who has a rap sheet that includes jaywalking. Jaywalking, isn't that below the pay grade of flippin' Freedom Force? And finally there's Eugene Extreme, who is the mastermind of unknown guerrillas. At the end of the game you receive a secret word, whispered in your ear by what we guess is one of the hostages. Xenophobe. Get rid of the crooks and spare the civilians as you go through multiple shooting galleries, which increase in speed as you complete more. Basic stuff. Hogan's Alley was a release title for the NES. Unlike Barker Bill's Trick Shooting, its name actually refers to a real location. It's based on the former real-life training facility of the US National Guard. After the game came out, the FBI opened a new training facility, also called Hogan's Alley. We like to think that was just a room with a couch and the NES. Maybe some chips and dip. Though the game is not one of the best known early NES titles, it's still a classic. Cameos of Hogan's Alley appear in WarioWare, Touched and Super Smash. It even gets artsy. Digital artist Cody Archangel made a version of the game called I Shot Andy Warhol. Aim of this version is to shoot the legendary artist Andy Warhol, but spare the Pope, Flavor Flav and Colonel Sanders. What the cluck? A children's game?
It is Wild Gunman.
How do you play this thing?
I'll show you, kid.
As you can see, Wild Gunman was considered a retro classic in 2015, according to Back to the Future 2, a classic movie released in 1989, making the game a double classic. Wild Gunman has two gameplay modes, a reaction game and a shooting gallery. The reaction game requires you to react to a signal and shoot your digital opponent before he gets to you. At the top of the screen, you can see the time it will take for your opponent to get a shot in. And you pretty much have to be a baby to fail, since the allowed reaction time can take up to 1 second, while the average reaction time for a human is below 1/3 of a second. Well, maybe it is a children's game, and Marty McFly isn't that cool after all.
That's like a baby's toy.
Okay, let's start the crazy! Chiller is an unlicensed NES game that was ported from arcade to the NES in 1990. And for once we agree with the game being unlicensed. You'll be shooting nuns pushing prams in the first level. Contrary to most Zapper shooters, in Chiller it's your goal to eradicate as many innocent pixel people as possible, as you play the role of some unnamed sadist. Who came up with this horrifying concept? XD, the developer that caused some uproar in '76 with their other shock value game, Death Race, where you also cause as much mayhem as possible. After you've cleared the graveyard of those pesky nuns, you move on to a hallway filled with ghosts and mummies, and a torture chamber where you shoot up the poor souls being tortured there. Why? Why? You'd think this game would only be played in the privacy of a madman's dungeon, but check this out. In '92 there was a contest called the Chiller Gaming Award, which was won by Bradley Cantor, who got the most points and played the game for 89 hours straight. His competitors accused him of using caffeine pills to stay awake. We accuse him of being one sick puppy. The Adventures of Bayou Billy is one of the first games that had it all. You get to fight, shoot, and drive in a game that's absolutely not based on Crocodile Dundee. So, it's pretty much a 1980s GTA. And have you heard the music? Listen to those sound chips getting funky. As in many games that need a cheap excuse for some action, your girl has been abducted, and you have to overcome challenges to save her. You start out in what you presume is Billy's residential bayou with just your bare hands. But soon you move up to sticks and knives.
That's a knife.
In the second level, you switch over to using your light gun to shoot enemies that drop down from trees, and helicopters that are able to fly through the jungle. Some of the shots you have to make are pretty tight, and after each level follows a moment that basically says, sorry, the princess is in another castle. In the driving level, you race a jeep down the road while you're bombarded by airplanes. This is not your average jeep, by the way. It goes a freaky 180 miles an hour.
900 horses of Detroit muscle.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy is a pretty hard game. Did you know it's so hard, it's the only weak spot of Captain N? Remember him?
You mean he's afraid of rats? No, you rat brain! Bayou Land! He doesn't know his way around Bayou Land!
Another unlicensed NES game, but a more wholesome one. Published by Color Dream, that's primarily known for their Christian-themed games. This must be goody goody. The title isn't a reference to the post-World War II generation, the baby boomers, but it's a baby called Boomer that's looking for his mom. This game is pretty much an escort mission all the way, but a sketchy one. You use your gun to protect baby Boomer as he crawls into dangerous situations. You shoot anything that approaches your baby, like Homer Simpson when he solved every problem with his gun.
Can you help me get my ball down from the roof, Dad?
Sure thing, honey.
Baby Boomer passes a lot of bizarre scenery while he looks for his mom, including a cemetery and even actual heaven and hell. We never knew they were connected by an elevator though, but it makes sense since they're part of the same franchise. After you've blasted 50,000 rats to bits to protect baby Boomer and you reach the end of the game, and fall from a cloud into a pram, it turns out the woman waiting for you is actually waiting for another baby named Hubert. And we'll have to wait for the sequel, Baby Boomer 2, to find out what's gonna happen to our hero. Well, we're still waiting for that sequel, guys. Operation Wolf is not based on Commando. I repeat, it is not based on Commando. First released in '87 for arcade, Operation Wolf was ported to NES in '89. This transition made the game lose a lot of quality graphics-wise, but it's still impressive how many enemies can appear on your screen, especially on NES. Operation Wolf is one of the rare early shooters that feature a storyline. Our hero, Roy Adams, is actually depicted doing stuff that supports his mission, like sabotaging communications, healing his wounds, and rescuing hostages. At the end of the mission, Roy makes a getaway with a bunch of hostages. It depends on how many hostages you save in the end, how much the president acts like a judgmental dad. Hey!
It wasn't my war! You asked me, I didn't ask you!
I was just wondering if you're doing anything Saturday night.
No, I don't think so.
Would you like to go out with me?
No.
Alright, Gotcha, the sport, is based on Gotcha, the movie. Neither of which you've probably heard of. But you've probably heard of this game's publisher, LJN, famous for ruining movie games. In the movie Gotcha, the protagonist goes on a trip to Europe and gets involved in spy action by accident, which turns into crazy chases across Europe. That's not what the game is about. The protagonist plays paintball in college, and that detail is what this game is based on. It's a capture the flag setup where you take the game from one side of the level to the other, while the computer opponents try to do the same. The position of your flag is indicated in a bar at the top of your screen. When the enemy carrying your flag enters your field of view, you can shoot him to send the flag back to base. There's 3 levels which loop infinitely, but with faster reaction times. It's a simple but solid game, and one of the few LGN games that doesn't suck. Maybe that's because it has very little to do with the movie.
Gotcha.
That's it for 10 NES Zapper games that are not Duck Hunt. What do you think? Can any of these games challenge Duck Hunt? Or should they know their role and shut their hole? Do you have any suggestions for lists that you would like to see? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching!